This is where the fun begins.
Hello there. How's it going?
Hey everyone, Hybrid Toy Reviews here, and today we're taking a look at the Star Wars Micro Galaxy Squadron Ghost from Star Wars Rebels. This is one of my most favorite ships in all of Star Wars, and one that I was hoping we would get in the line. I could not imagine that it would be one of the largest things in the line, with so many light-up features and sound effects. It looks so good, and I'm just so happy it's finally in my hands. It's got some accessory pieces that are sold separately. It's got an upcoming Amazon Deluxe kit, and there's just a lot of features. So we're going to talk about all of that. Let's get into the review. Here's the Ghost in the box, almost too big really for my overhead tripod, but we're going to make it work. You have a Star Wars logo up there with 18 plus action features. See back panel for detail. Your Star Wars Rebels logo, motion activated lights and sounds, a ginormous window showing the beautiful ship off just amazingly. You have your 4 included fit characters being Gar Zabrilies, Kanan Jarrus, Sabine Wren, and Hera Syndulla. It is from Series 3. Warning, Micro Galaxy Squadron, Ghost. You have a picture of the ship over here. It's number 0131. Underneath you have a barcode, some legal stuff. Around over here you have different blurbs about the features that it has on Micro Galaxy Squadron logo. Around over here you just have some of that artwork of the Ghosts fighting TIE fighters. Then around back you have a big hologram of the ship showing off just a ton of the features going on around and how it can dock with the recently reviewed Phantom and different starfighters, and just there's a lot of cool stuff going on. Here's that trading card they keep saying you can cut out. I don't know anyone that does, but whatever. Here's a list of the features, lights and sounds. You have some logos and a Star Wars logo up top. Nothing really insane to write home about. You know, it's everything you would expect to find on the packaging of a highly detailed toy. So without further ado, let's get this out of its cardboard prison and get into the review. Here's the Ghost out of the packaging. Let's go ahead and start by taking a look at what I consider the accessories in this line, which are the figures. So we'll start off with Kanan Jarrus, one of my most favorite Jedi in the entire galaxy and favorite character of Star Wars Rebels. He is recreated amazingly here. These figures stand just a tick under 1 inch tall, and he has a lot of details ranging from his symbol on his shoulder to his hair being pulled back in the samurai, like ponytail thing, the straps to the pistol holster, the lightsaber on the back of the belt. Just the attention to detail is insane. The articulation is not. I almost said articulation there. Articulation on all these figures. I'll just show on Kanan. The arms swivel forward together. There's a peg that runs through the torso connecting them, and then same with the legs. They go forward together. Basically, you can get the characters in a seating position with the hands on the controls of a ship, which I feel is all that it needs to be. Kanan looks amazing. Here we have Sabine. This is based on her Season 1 appearance, and she also looks rather good. There's a little bit of a QC issue on the front of her helmet where some of the silver bleeds through the front of the face, but every single one at the store I was at had that, so I think it's pretty widespread. But at this scale, it's acceptable. We can live with it. But all of her armor pieces are painted nicely, and she does look really rather good. Then we have Garazab Aurelios, who again looks insane. They even got his little mutton chop beard going on up there. Just looks so good. He's a little stocky, which is accurate. He's a beefy dude, and just looks the part. Zeb is well done. And then, of course, we have our pilot, Hera Syndulla, the Queen. We adore Hera in this household. And the skin tone is painted oh so nicely. She's got a nice lime color going on there. And then the rest of the jumpsuit is recreated very well. And just looks really good. All in all, I do love how that one turned out as well. Now, as impressed as I am with the figures on this, and the figures are just impressive due to their small size, let's look at the Ghost. Now, my friends, particularly 212 Hunter, have given me endless grief by me saying that I think this potentially looks better than the HasLab Ghost. And where I'm at on that is that looks very bland. I like the wash going on here. It's got a lot of panel lines going on. and the wash has settled into every crack, and it just makes it look very three-dimensional. Some places, like over here, maybe are a touch heavy, but that's all right. Some of the colors, the light blues and the yellows and the greens, are maybe a bit strong, but it's been painted to look like the Rebels version, and being animated, sometimes the colors on an animated show pop a little more versus the live-action version that we saw in the Ahsoka series. However, it is very much indistinguishably the Ghost, and it just looks insane. I love the green coloring for the glass of the cockpit. You can see the chairs going on in there, and then the bubble turret, and then the other bubble turret up top. Just look oh so good, and just this wash over it is just insane. We're going to go through the features here momentarily, but around back, you get your engines. They're cast in a yellow translucent plastic. It would look great if they had lights behind them, right? We'll get into that. Going underneath of the ship, there's been no attention to detail wasted here with that wash going on everywhere. These exposed little like wiring compartments look great. There you see is our battery compartment where it takes 3 AAA batteries. You have a landing pad there that is permanent. You have 2 swinging ones over here in the center, and then you have one in the back. So in flight mode, you'd have those all folded up, and then the one under the nose of the ship is just part of it. However, I'm going to fold these out so that I can comfortably set the ship down as we go on throughout the review. Now, it is a Micro Galaxy Squadron ship, and it wouldn't be Micro Galaxy Squadron without some insane opening panels. So let's go ahead and open some panels. There's a large panel up top that you put your finger in the back of the Phantom docking area, and you lift up, and this entire hunk of ship lifts up and out. And that reveals this full-blown interior looking oh so good. You have, spinning it around to the angle that we see it on in the show all the time, there is the crew's hangout area with Zeb's weird wood chair, although it's not been painted brown here. And then the holo table with the positions for everyone to sit in. There's a chair there with a computer terminal, and there's a flip-up smuggler's compartment going on down there. I mean, that is just insane. I love it when they do little things like that. There is the impression of a ladder, which goes up to where the Phantom is, and then a door that goes under where the Phantom is. And in the center there, you see is kind of the like the room that they would walk through to then go out to the connection tubes, which we'll demonstrate those shortly. And then up in the front here, we have the bedrooms, the bunk rooms. So on this side over here, this one would be Zeb and Ezra's bunk room, and it is pretty bland, except for, you might see, there's the art on the wall that's being painted of the top bunk falling on to Zeb with Ezra on it. That was a funny moment earlier in the show, and I'm glad it got recreated here. And then Hera's room, admittedly, is a little bland. There's not a lot going on in there. But what room has a lot going on is Sabine's room. I mean, it has all of her paintings up on the wall and her group photo up above her bunk. And there's not so much going on that wall. In Kanan's room here, you have the bunk. And if you see, it focuses in right there, there's a little holocron on his shelf there. They've got his holocron in his bunk room. That is just insane. Cannot believe it. Now, bringing up to the front, the entire front cockpit flips up like so, giving you access to the 4 seats in the cockpit and then the ball turret underneath of the cockpit. Now, I will say, I think the Ghost is a touch under scale. You know, that ball turret should be like a totally floor below, whereas it's kind of like half level here. I think, honestly, if the entire ship were another 6 inches longer overall, it's maybe 14, 15 inches now. If it was maybe closer to 20 inches long, it would be a true scale for the figures. However, it's clocking at $60 already, so it would easily be a $100 piece at that point. You do have to kind of bridge the gap between toy and model with this kind of thing. So it's not the end of the world, but it definitely is a little smaller than it should be. Excuse me. So you got all the seats going on in there and a little peg in there in the center. And the nice thing about that peg going on in the center is it actually fits the astromech droids because they peg into the sockets there. So you can kind of like stand Chopper up in there between everyone. Chopper is sold separately with the Phantom, of course. but you're able to get the entire gang basically seated anywhere throughout the entirety of the ship. We're going to peg a couple in here. There's always a trick with these. They never just go in. But here we have Hera in her seat. Let's go ahead and put Kanan in his seat, since he's usually either on the ball turret or beside her. Let's throw Sabine down in the nose gun. And Chopper can hang out there. So, from there, we'll close up the cockpit. It's a little tricky. You just got to get it to align. There you go, over that cockpit there in the front. The gun underneath swivels, which is nice. There's also a working door in the front for the cargo hold, which unfortunately is not represented really at all, because again, they've scaled it down a little bit. So now, before I put the top on, I do want to show some cool features. The sides of the ship feature the hatches, and you can actually remove them. They snap in, you lift up, you spin it around, you see a docking tube there. You now put it back where it goes, and they give you one of these on each side of the ship. Before putting it back together, I'm just going to flip them out to the deployed mode, because that'll be something we look at next. Putting the top of the ship back on, you see there's a little bit of a tube here underneath the top turret. You have to kind of start that into the hallway section there, just a little bit. Oh, well, also being oriented the right way would help. You have to start that in, and then you kind of nose the panel down in the front, and you start snapping it on. It's a tight fit, and a little fiddly, and for whatever reason this one is not. There we go. But once it's on, it is on nice and secure. As mentioned, there is the top ball turret, which can swivel 360 degrees, and you lift up the canopy to put someone in. Looking inside of there, there is just a very basic chair with some controls, and I think it is a great place to put my man, Garazeb Aurelios. Sticking him in there like so, kind of getting the leg holder to snap around his legs. There we go. Closing the bubble turret like so. You can see him in there. He is nice and safe and secure. Now, let's go and start looking at some of these electronic features. So there are two buttons here. They're nice and neatly hidden. They definitely stand out once you know they're there, but at a cursory glance, they don't stand out, but they are black. And they are the only really black portions other than the engines. So the front button here wakes the ship up. There, so now you just hear that light little engine effect. And now what's cool about this is the ship has gyroscopic functions. There, it started firing all on its own there. As you turn it, it does swoosh effects. It's really, really cool. There's a feature where if you hold both buttons down at the same time, the ship just jumped into hyperspace. That is insane. I love the effect of it. And the second button just plays as like a landing effect there, which is cool. However, the second button changes when you add on a feature. So, sold separately is the Phantom. I just reviewed it. And you can now, something worth noting, I mentioned in that review, the 6 pegs on the bottom. If you look on this port, there are 8 buttons. Now, they accidentally leaked. There we go, spun as I pivoted there. They accidentally said in the description of this, I think on Target.com, that it will work with both the Phantom and the Phantom 2, which is the Separatist shuttle that they get later on. So they haven't announced it yet, but I'm thinking that we're going to get a Phantom 2, probably from the Ahsoka series, with jacketed General Syndulla and Chopper. And maybe Jason, that'd be cool too. So this can then double up as an Ahsoka series ship. But to put this on, you simply align the pegs and push the ship. Nope. I spoke too long, so before I do this, the ship falls asleep after 30 seconds, and that is how you'll stop it from swooshing as you turn it or anything. So we have to wake it back up. There we go. Now to push the Phantom on, it plays a sound effect while the Phantom docks, which is insane. And now this back button actually plays Phantom blasters, because the Phantom can shoot while it's docked. Plays it as much as you like, or if you hold it down, it plays a faster version of the effect, which is super cool. To remove the ship, you just have to unsnap it. Plays a phantom flying away effect after it undocks, which is super cool. Redocking the ship. There we go, hearing that effect again. If you see, it is a little bit big. It's supposed to kind of nest in there more. Again, that's where I'm at, where the Ghost is a little underscaled. And the big thing for me would be, it wouldn't bug me as much if the Phantom didn't look so big on it. And maybe it'll fit the Phantom 2 better. But the Phantom's pretty well scaled for the figures. You can put the whole crew in there, really, and it's capable of carrying the whole crew in the show. So it's just a little unfortunate that it looks so big on it here. I mean, it shouldn't be up above. It should be nested in, into here, and it just doesn't go in like that. So it's unfortunate. I think, they've kind of hit a middle ground here where at least it has the feature. And then something else that kind of bugs me is the Ghost has this beautiful dark wash over it. That's very, very heavily applied, but it looks good. And the Phantom does not feature that wash. It features a wash, but a much lighter wash. So it really just looks almost white, and in comparison to the gray base of the ship. So there's definitely some nitpicking to be had. But ultimately, I do think overall it does make for a really nice presentation. Now, let's talk about these docking tubes, as I mentioned. If you look in them, there is a hole in the center of the post, and then there are clips. These are mostly designed to fit astromech droid sockets, like in the Y-Wing. There's actually an Amazon $115 pack coming with a battle-damaged Ghost. It has some blast marks on it, a Phantom, and then 2 Y-Wings. And the gimmick is they dock. And so you simply take your astromech out of your Y-Wing, and you slide it on, and it kind of just snugs in there. And it is nice and secure. However, something that people notice is the A-Wing. The Rebel A-Wing actually came out first as Hera's A-Wing, which was a chase, which I've never found. And if anyone finds, please let a guy know. I'd love to pick it up from you. And it is a snug fit, but the Rebel A-Wing can also fit without having a droid socket, because the cockpit is just the same width as the outside. You just have to kind of push it on. So you can actually dock some ships on here pretty well, which is nice to see. Setting these ships aside, the Y-Wing fits especially well. I will say the X-Wing, it fits, but it's very, very tight at the very end there. You can get it on, but you're really kind of forcing it. It wasn't really designed with this in mind. I think the X-Wing sculpt came out too early as opposed to the others. I think by the time that they were making the A-Wing and the Y-Wing, they were kind of saying, hey, why don't we let it dock with the Ghost? So those are really, really cool features to be had, and I do love the docking element of it. And it's just a really fun feature. You see it in the show here and there, and so I'm just really happy they recreated it. Let's go ahead and do a quick size comparison now. So here's the Ghost with a smattering of other vehicles that I have collected throughout this line. And I think that, again, it's a little small, but at least being the largest of anything that we've gotten in the Rebel fleet is a good call here. I think that it looks good next to the other vehicles. Again, could have stood being a little bit larger, but it doesn't look bad next to other things, and I'm still incredibly excited. I have had plans since this got announced of building a little glass enclosed coffee table and then doing like a Rebel hangar inside of it with all of the Rebel vehicles parked, and then like the Ghost and the Falcon on opposite ends. I'm incredibly excited to do it now that I have this piece, and I don't think it'll look bad next to these at all. So at least it's significantly larger, just still not quite large enough. But all in all, scale's pretty okay. So, at the end of the day, what do I think of the Micro Galaxy Squadron Ghost? I think it is a beast. I love all of the features. I think it is beautifully painted. The electronics are nice. I don't typically go for electronics in toys. I want it to look nice above all. But the fact that it looks so nice and then has nice electronics on top of, always a bonus. I'm just really, really happy with how this turned out. It is a beautiful shelf piece. I have said for ages, I totally get not getting into Micro Galaxy Squadron. The majority of my friends, the majority of you as my audience, you're pretty in on Black Series. Maybe you're into TVC on top of. You know, you spend your money a lot of different ways already, and getting into another line isn't always ideal for collectors. Hell, there's some days that I wish that I haven't gotten into this as much as I have. But ultimately, I think it's a really, really well-made ship, and I think that when it comes to this line, you should grab your most favorite ship as a one-off without building a fleet, just so you can understand what people say when they say that these are really well-made toys. The design, the sculpt, just all the features on these. Jazzwares goes incredibly hard on these ships, and I always sing their praises because they're earned. These are just incredibly well sculpted. I love having the Ghost crew all together on my shelf in a small way where I don't have to dedicate a quarter of my living room to a massive glass enclosed coffee table for a vintage collection Ghost or hanging on the wall or whatever. And that's going to be a beautiful piece for those that got it. But like, if you can't get the vintage collection Ghost and you love the ship, man, this has all those details and then some. And I think that you will be happy adding it to your collection. It's just oh so nice, and I cannot glaze it enough. It's built sturdy enough to give to the kids, but it's also painted nice enough to be a nice display piece, and that's the best I can say about this type of line. It's the best of all worlds. Thanks for watching. It means a lot that you did. If you enjoyed, you should leave a like, comment, subscribe, all those end of video stuffs. I'm going to go work on something else now, so until next time, may the Force be with each and every one of you, and goodbye.